Coming to you from Dover, Ohio and Somerville, South Carolina. Two cities with absolutely nothing in common until now. This is Make Photography Great Again, a weekly podcast of commentary on the photographic industry. And now, here are your hosts, master photographers Christine Walsh-Newton and Ted Linsack.
So, I want to ask you a question, Christine, right off the bat. Of course, this is the Make Photography Great Again podcast. Christine, have you ever heard of something called an anger room?
I know the existence of certain rooms that are used for people to calm down in. Is that an anger room?
To calm down in what kind of way? Because I had really never heard of this, so tell me what you're thinking or what you've heard of, and I'll tell you if it's correct. Or I'll at least let you in on where I'm going with this after that.
Okay, well, actually, as a matter of fact, I toured an assisted living facility yesterday, right down the street from where I live. And the fellow that was giving me the tour showed me this little room, and it was about 8 foot by 10 foot. It had a rocking chair in it and a comfy chair, and it had some twinkle lights and some... just like there was a projector that projected this little mandala spinning on the wall, and it had these pretty colors like a kaleidoscope. And he said that was a room just if people were feeling pretty anxious that they could go in and sit in and relax. I guess there was soothing music playing and the lights were low.
Okay.
And I figured that's what it was, right?
I already have heard enough to know this is not at all what you're talking about.
Okay, never mind.
And this is applicable to photographers, because after I explain what this is, I think we all maybe need this at some point. So I see this story. Of course, it's on CNN, so we can only it could be correct, it could not be correct. Of course, not to offend anybody. So anger rooms. Okay, so listen to this. I'm going to read from this story just so you can hear and tell me how amazing this would be, because I think I really need one of these in my house.
Oh, no, I know what you're going to say now.
Yeah, just a few excerpts. Okay. Anger rooms, as they're called, have become all the rage for the high-strung person, does that sound like anyone you know, who needs a safe space to blow off some steam. When counting to 10, taking deep breaths, or the sage advice to take a chill pill doesn't manage to suppress your wrath. I love that term, wrath. A controlled environment to get the aggression out of your system might do the trick. So that sets the stage. So there is a place in Atlanta. It is called the Break Room. Okay, the Break Room. And basically what it is you pay there, you pay to go there, you pay for a certain amount of time to break a bunch of crap in a room. Like to just destroy stuff. Can you imagine that? Doesn't that sound incredible?
That sounds a bit scary, because I think if you start letting go of some of that stuff and you go overboard, I mean, what's to keep you from doing that if you get mad at home? Wait, honey, I'm going to get in the car and drive to the anger room so I can get this frustration out. I don't think so.
So
it says that.
It says with prices ranging from $20 to $90, that there might be a Groupon out there, I have no clue. Visitors are armed with the instrument of their choice, a baseball bat, a crowbar, or a sledgehammer, and may pick out items or bring their own. Next, you simply blast your favorite music and start breaking. Now you said this could be a bad thing. That's what you said, but the story goes on. Is a controlled temper tantrum enough to provide real relief? Skeptical of how much help a 20-minute session could provide, Dr. Amit Sood, okay, a medical professor. This guy says, well, it's better to break a TV than a nose, that's for sure. So that's the medical expert that they brought in on this article, and he says it's totally fine.
Oh,
anger rooms.
Okay, that's one person's opinion, and I think that we can all agree with that, but that doesn't mean that's a medical opinion, for crying out loud.
He's a medical professor at the Mayo Clinic.
I don't care.
Just want to put that out there.
I want to see a psychological study. I don't know, Ted. I don't think that would be good. I think you should go sit in the quiet room that I saw. It was nice.
I think I'd like a baseball bat, and
no,
we can bring in something and I can start destroying it. That sounds like therapy to me.
You need
Now,
a quiet room and a box of Thin Mints. That's all you need.
No, I'll leave the Thin Mints for you. I think you've actually eaten every single Thin Mint in existence. Is that true in the last 2 weeks? From
in
your
the
statuses?
last 2 weeks, there have been 4 boxes stolen from my freezer. Can you believe it?
Stolen? Define
I had
stolen.
5. I had 5 boxes in there, and when I looked earlier today, there was only 1 box left. So there has been a theft at my house. I should call the cops.
So those are the ones you ate, obviously, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. A punishment for you might be seeing me destroy a box of Thin Mints with a baseball bat. Would you cry if I did that?
Oh, that would be a total waste. You know what else is a waste is those pie in the faces thing. When I was little and I'd see that on TV, that would just make me cry because they wasted a whole pie, especially the crust part because I loved crust.
Crust. Wow. We always talk about food. Hey, photography. So moving on from the anger room, photography sometimes can be scary. So let me ask you if you have seen the brand new trailer for the new It remake. You know, Stephen King's It, the remaking it. Do you even know that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
you know
my
you know the book,
yes.
right?
Yes. I've read the book, I think, 2 or 3 times, and I saw the movie once. I made myself get through it, but my goodness,
Did you see the new trailer? Did you see the
No.
trailer for the remake? Oh,
No.
Okay, for sure, guys. We will link the trailer. Probably everyone's seen it. We will definitely link the trailer because it actually looks like it's going to be filmed quite well. I mean, look, the trailer is the trailer, but it looks pretty good. But it looks terrifying. It looks absolutely terrifying, and I cannot wait to see it. I can't believe you haven't seen it. I can't believe it.
Well, you know how I am about movies, and you know the only time I ever see horror flicks is when you kind of lie to me and tell me we're going to a chick movie, and then we wind up at a freaking horror flick. So
That's never happened.
Oh, yeah. No, it hasn't.
Oh, man. So, yeah, it is terrifying. The trailer is incredible. We'll link it. Check it out. I cannot wait to see it. Yes, the book was good. And I don't do a whole lot of nonfiction reading ever in my life. Or fiction reading, I should say. I'm sorry. But I did read that. It was one of the few. Actually, I've read a few Stephen King books. Incredible book. The movie looks like it's going to be sweet.
I've read them all, and I started with Christine, believe it or not.
That's so cliched, though. Is it
It
just because
is.
it's your name?
Yeah, and that's the same reason that I own the Christine 16 off the Stun Gun album, Kiss. Got that for my
Wow.
16th birthday. Yeah, little known facts.
Wow. You are a pool of information.
Useless information sometimes.
So going along the scary theme, back to photography, what a segue this will be. Let me ask you your opinion on something, because we've been talking about education, and that's been a theme the past handful of episodes. Obviously, we haven't been doing this that long. But in our industry, you tend to find a lot of people that come in. I keep going back to weddings because that's what I tend to see, and that's what I do, and that's where I'm plugged in. A lot of wedding photographers come in, they will shoot weddings for 2 or 3 years, and then seemingly build an empire. When I mean empire, I mean they build this huge following, an education following, and there's been so many that after 3 years, they cease to shoot weddings, and they are fully in the education market, and they begin to just educate photographers, and they create huge sites and all this stuff, and just curious, you're out of weddings now for a little bit. We've talked about that, but what's your take on that? What's your take on people getting into it, getting out of it, and then immediately building an educational empire when they really haven't even done it for more than 3 seconds?
I like the way that you ask me the controversial questions, and it's like you're throwing me under the bus, you know? Because I got kind of mouthy, like,
this is
like
scary,
the last
right?
4
this
episodes.
This is scarier than it.
Yeah,
this is scarier
you're
than
putting me on the spot.
No.
The first thing that I really kind of don't like to see is when photographers figure out that they can make money from other photographers by selling stuff. So the selling stuff thing kind of gets on my nerves. And then the teaching thing before you're ready to teach, yeah, that gets on my nerves. But I mean, I can see where people want to get multiple cash flows going. I mean, I myself mentor on the side. I'm not 100% photography, and I do mentor quite a bit. But, you know, I'm going to justify that. I have my craftsman degree, and I have my educational associate degree. I'm an instructor. That is what I do. That's one of my passions. So I don't know that I'm going to throw myself in that same group. I'm serious about my teaching, and it wasn't for the income stream to begin with. I just like to teach. But yeah, I think teaching before you're ready, I do look at that crossways, and it disappoints me. But, are we like the photography police? Although, I'm kind of torn between that, because it's really none of my business. It really isn't any of my business. But yeah, it irks me, and I hate to see it because a lot of people will latch on to some of these people, especially if they're like kind of rock star-ish, young and sexy and cute, and I don't know, with a lot of sun flare. I don't know.
I love
they kind of get their following, and maybe they're not even that great of a teacher, but they've got a great personality, and folks don't understand that their knowledge is limited or not up to snuff. But again, who are we to judge if somebody's knowledge is up to snuff? I don't know. It's like the whole industry is out of control as far as this aspect goes, and there's no way to regulate it. I would love if the industry had a teaching license, just like there are times when I have taught here in the state of Ohio at a regular educational institute, and I'm required to get a special teaching license from the state of Ohio, and they're only valid for a year at a time, but I have to go through an interview process to get that. I have to show that I have 5 years of craft work. If I do not have a master's degree, I have to show that I have 5 years of experience under my belt in the subject that I'm going to teach, and I have to present a portfolio of my work. I have to show that I know what I'm doing. And, in that way, they're guaranteeing the students that they are going to get some quality education from me. But we don't have that kind of thing going on with a lot of these casual instructors, and I kind of wish that we did.
You're absolutely right. We're not the photography police, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's who's to say. I just think it's interesting when you see people that, I keep seeing, and the reason I bring this up, I keep seeing this ad go through my Facebook feed all the time. And honestly, I don't know who they are, and I'm not going to mention who they are, even if I did. Maybe I do, and then I'm lying. I don't know. I keep seeing this thing, and it says something along the lines of, help your editing become better and shoot better so you don't have to edit as much. And the photo that they are using for the advertisement is, like, completely blown out. I don't even know. It's I hate to, like, sound like I'm picking on stuff like that, but it's just interesting. I keep seeing that. You're going to teach people how to shoot better, yet this photo is not exposed well at all. And coincidentally, they've been doing this for 2 or 3 years, and I just kind of find it silly. I mean, it's my personal opinion. They're allowed to do whatever they want to. I think people can do whatever. They can charge whatever. Of course, I teach, you teach. We all do that, so I'm under the belief that people can do what they want, but then we can still talk about it, right? Are we allowed to have an opinion?
Yeah,
perhaps?
No, we can talk about it, and I guess this podcast is our opinion, and I guess I was being a little politically correct, earlier. That just annoys the crap out of me. And yes, especially when you look at the images that are supposed to tease people into signing up for this class, and technically there's some issues with them. But you know what? Are they claiming to be technical people? Is the bulk of their work, fashiony and fun and lots of actions and presets? And, remember, there was an action a long time ago, like 2009, called like Bluebell or Bonnie Blue or Blue something, and it's like, oh my gosh, everybody was using it. It was the look of the day, and the people that first started it were like the gurus of photography at that point in time. So I wonder if some of these teachers aren't just going to be teaching the fad that's current, and they're not going to be teaching in like another 6 to 8 months.
I'm kind of amazed, though, how a lot of these people they put things out there that they know are going to attract people, and that's a fairly obvious statement, right? Any marketing you do, that's the goal, to bring people in. But, oh, whoopsie, that was a noise on the computer, of course. Someone's messaging me. Sorry. That was super professional.
So awesomely
super professional.
Prepared.
This podcast is incredibly professional. I won't say who it is. No, they put this stuff out there, and it seems like it's just an attempt to attract a lot of the newer folks. And I'm not saying that all the information out there is bad. They may have a lot of great information, but you look at a lot of it, and I just see it as, wow, we tried photography for a little bit and now we're trying to build this huge empire on educating people and we've only been doing it for 2 years. Just something about that, I don't know, it just personally bothers me a little bit. In the end, people can do what they want and that's fine. I don't think it should be, it's hard to say if I think it should be regulated. It would be nice if there was a little bit of that, but how do you really do that? You mentioned your certificates for teaching, and in a way, I guess that could be interesting, but how do you honestly put that in place? You know, I mean, not even for teaching, forget about teaching, just for photography. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a way to somehow standardize it? I mean, I know PPA has their, you have the degrees that you can try to get and the CPP and all that stuff. I think it helps it, but that's just one little facet. You don't have to do that. It's like anyone can get into this and do what they want to. But sometimes, the very I don't even know. Usually I'm against regulation. Let people do what they want. Let the market do what it wants. But being in the industry, you see so much of that sometimes I sit back and say, it might be kind of cool if we had something that made it really hard for people to get in, so we can control the quality of not only the speakers, but the quality of work and the kind of people that are getting into this and becoming photographers. I don't know.
I think that's just the never-ending quandary. That's a lot of the basis of a lot of conversations that I hear. There just is no way to regulate the industry. It's out of control. It just is. I think there is no way to put that. What's the phrase that they say? No way to put that thing back in the thing. I don't remember.
The thing back in the thing. Wow.
I'll think of it later. Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry,
That should be on a coffee mug or something.
That was a ton of brilliance right there, wasn't it?
The thing back on the thing. I'm kind of curious as to what you were going to say, as to what it really means.
I don't remember. It's like there's, it's too late to get the pig back in the pan. It's something like that. I'm totally wrong. It's probably something really inappropriate, actually.
Oh my. I kind of look at some of the stuff though. We keep talking about PPA because obviously we're PPA members. I think the degree programs are good. I wish that they would be changed slightly. My only beef with getting a degree, I think it's a good thing. I think it's great that you have something to strive for, and the fact that you have to have your print credits. You have to go through the print competition process, show that your images are merit worthy, and that builds you as a photographer. That's all good. But I wish there was a harder element to it. Like, I wish there was maybe another element that was maybe something along the lines of what a CPP is, a certified professional photographer. I'm not a CPP, and maybe we'll talk about that, or maybe you can ask me that if you want to be controversial with me. I'm not a CPP. But I feel like the master's degree, there needs to be another thing to it. The thing, put the thing in the thing, as you say, is one of my favorite. It's almost too easy. Not that it's easy. I mean, that sounds bad. I hate to say that it's not. It's not easy. It is hard to get it. But if you play the game, you can essentially get it, and sometimes it doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, let me ask you this: do you agree with that, or am I way out in left field?
I think that when we got our master's degrees, and it wasn't really that long ago, but I got mine in 2013, and you got yours in 2014, correct?
I believe so, yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. When I was working on mine, I did it in 3 years, which was phenomenal back then, just those short years ago, because I didn't have anybody help me. There was no such thing as competition mentoring. There was no such thing as competition Facebook groups. But since then, there was no such thing as watching competition. I mean, we're so spoiled right now. We get to watch live stream all the districts. Most of the states are hooked up to an online place that streams it. We have access to all kinds of critiques, recorded critiques that we can pay for at different competition levels. We have mentoring programs now. It's just there's so much more competition education now than there was when we did it. It was exceptionally harder when we did it. But now I would say, with the advancement of all of that stuff, I don't know that we've made it easier, but we've made the journey maybe, I don't think we're handing it to them. Everybody's still having to do the work, but the wealth and knowledge is really out there, because in the beginning, we had to make mistakes. We had to submit the full bleeds and then find out that really wasn't the way you did it,
Yeah.
We made more mistakes than a lot of people do now, because I know when I mentor with people, that's why I like to get the first year people. I mentor with them, and I can stop them from making that mistake before they actually enter. I can save them like a whole season of frustration and mistakes by just kind of looking at their work beforehand, or giving them some advice before they start to work, letting them know some of the problems that I ran into and some of the stupid things that I did. Like one time I put somebody on metallic that shouldn't have been metallic. The only thing in the picture was the whites of this guy's eyes. Yes, I made a great mistake with paper one time in competition, and I bombed, and I wish I'd have known that I shouldn't have done that.
My dirty secret as to why I really don't print any competition entries. Well, number one, I do a lot of albums. And if I could be wrong, but is it true that PPA is no longer doing physical albums, or did I make that up? I thought I heard that.
I heard that somewhere last year.
I know WPPI got rid of physical albums years ago. But
somebody mentioned, and I can't remember where I heard it. I think it might have been at Judge's refresher training at Imaging. I'm not sure, so don't quote me. I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
I'm ready to quote you.
I heard somebody say, y'all, if you're entering physical albums, you may want to hold off on printing this year's entries until you hear for sure, but it's something we're discussing because we found, they're so expensive and we have to handle them and we don't want to mess up, hundreds of dollars of album. And so they were talking about maybe going that route, but I haven't heard the final word on that, although the district rules do still have physical albums in them. So there's that.
I thought they were getting rid of that. But anyways, yeah, it definitely costs a lot. So if you do albums, if I literally had to print every single album that I made, it would be kind of silly. Also, I honestly think that the way physical albums get judged, I don't think it helps you. I mean, prints are one thing, but an album, you get a bunch of judges around an album and someone's turning the pages, and I don't know, it doesn't show off as well that way, I think. And not that I don't think an album shows off well. A beautifully printed physical album is incredible, but in the scheme of judging, I don't think it's the best way to look at an album per se.
I entirely agree with you.
Wow, that could be the first time.
I do not like the physical album judging. Now, physical albums can just be so gorgeous. I was slobbering over one in the trade show a couple weeks ago. But when
did you wipe it off? Did you wipe off the slobber? I hope.
No, I didn't really slobber. That was a term. That. So anyway, all the album judging I have seen, I think, does a disservice to the album because basically it is held by one print room worker and, they're all wearing gloves, so they're not messing it up. But one person is holding it in front of them down around their waist and they've got their hands underneath the bottom edge of the album. And there's a person standing beside them flipping the pages. And to me, that's probably the best that we can come up with, but to me, that's not good enough. That doesn't show off that album to its best of its ability, and I think the digital entry is a much better presentation of the album. I've done a couple albums, and I think that was your advice to me, and that's what I do. I've only entered digital albums.
I think they definitely show a lot better. The reason I've avoided them in prints or in single image entries, I haven't done a ton, but when I do those, honestly, it's kind of what you said about printing on the wrong paper. And I've heard so many stories of images that were 95% there and there was something goofy with the printing. And I'm not by any means a print expert in any way, shape, or form. But there's a dog barking. The dog wants out, Christine. Would you like me to hold court while you go do that?
No, my husband is taking care of the issue. I think somebody knocked on the door or something.
You need forget an anger room. You need a soundproof asylum there where you can do this podcast.
I know. So far, I've had 2 animals interfere with recordings in the last couple of days. Goodness. Okay, so what were you just saying?
I know. At some point, I'm going to actually say this. I've heard so many things where people are so particular about an image that could be about 95% there, and there's something goofy with the printing, or the blacks are a little bit milky, or this or that, and it all stems to the printing. That early on, when I saw that in my first year, 2 years, I got so terrified, and I figured, you know what? If I never print anything, at least they'll never be able to say that. They'll never be able to say, well, the printing is this or that. I mean, obviously they can still talk about print quality. You still hear that even in digital judging. But I feel like I'm avoiding that issue. Am I correct or am I wrong?
Yeah, I would say that if you would deal in prints, I think that your process would change.
Yeah.
And I've had those things happen to me. Actually, I had an image go to district last year, and at district, the judges said it had a green cast to it. And I deal primarily in black and white.
Yeah.
And I was just livid because I have a special process that I use that renders that file once and finally as a monochrome. I have one additional step that I always do before I close my file and send it to my lab. So I 100% knew that my lab did that. And when I got it back from district and put it under some lights in my studio and took a close look at it, I saw it as well. And that kept me out of the merit category. Now, here's the other thing is, had I even seen it myself, I ordered that print so late that there was no way to get it reprinted. So when you compete in prints, you learn to do your work more in advance and give yourself enough time that if something goes wrong with the printing process that you've got another stab at it. Because the worst thing in the world is sending something into competition that is an error and there's nothing that you can do about it because you didn't give yourself enough time to deal with it. Because what I do now is I have actually switched papers so that never happens again. I go with the Kodak True Black and White at that particular lab now, so I can be assured that that's never going to veer into the green again.
I like it. So you said you had a special formula. Is it similar to like KFC's formula for their chicken where it's under lock and key and no one knows about it except for two people and they each only know half of it? They each know half? Top secret.
Actually, I know all of it, and even Thin Mints won't pry it out of my head.
It's only you. Okay.
Only me.
So Coke is the same way. You've heard of the secret Coke formula? Christine, have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So me and Rach just went to Atlanta, which was awesome. We went to the World of Coke, which we should have done. When we were there for imaging, we should have went to the World of Coke. Very, very fascinating. Essentially, though, all it really is you pay money to have a giant Coke commercial presented to you for 2 hours as you walk through. It's all about Coke. But how cool is this? So you go in, and as soon as you go in, they give you any kind of Coke that you want in this little can that's made out of aluminum, but it's shaped like one of the Coke bottles. Okay. So they give you one of those, and then you think, wow, this is great. They're giving me Coke. How amazing is that? But what happens at the very end, so at the very end of the tour, right before that, though, you get to see the vault. That's what I was getting at. Coke has the formula, the secret formula is in a vault, supposedly inside there, and you see it and all that. But after that, how amazing is this? You can go into a room and you can taste test every single product, every single soft drink that Coke makes all around the world. They have fountains everywhere, and you can go nuts. Does that sound amazing?
How much was that ticket?
I don't remember. I don't know, like $18 or $17, something like that.
There's no way I would get $18 with a pop drink while I was walking through there.
No. There's a lot of cool stuff though. I'm downplaying. I'm like yada yadaing it. Okay, there's yada yada. You've heard that term. I've yada yada'd over the cool part. There's actually a very interesting. There's an interesting museum. You see all these different things. You see how they made Coke, the process, the history of it. Maybe we talked about this before, maybe not.
No, but you just said that it was like a giant Coke commercial, and I'm not interested in commercials.
I jokingly said that. They throw it in your face all the time. But Asa Chandler, who was the guy, not who invented the recipe for Coke, but essentially who bought the rights to Coke. So I'm trying to remember the guy who invented it. He was a pharmacist, obviously. Pemberton, something or other. Pemberton was his last name. He created this formula, and it became popular, obviously, kind of quick. But within a few years, it got bought out. I'm trying to remember, maybe 10 or 15 years down the road, or maybe sooner, I'm not sure. Asa Chandler, he bought the rights. So he bought the rights to Coke, the formula, the marketing, for, I think, $2,300. This was in the early 1900s, end of the 1800s, very end, right at the turn of the century. If I remember correctly, 20 years later, he decided to get out. He actually sold the rights, I think it was 1919, for $25 million. He sold the company. That's a pretty good return on investment.
That was a lot of money back then.
But the cool thing about Asa Chandler is this guy, if you see advertisements now, and if you see coffee mugs with company names and all that kind of stuff, Asa Chandler was one of these guys. He was one of the first guys that came up with that concept. When he bought Coke, his idea was, I want the Coke brand and that name on everything. I want it on everyday items that people use all the time, so they are constantly seeing that name. They're constantly seeing that brand. It's in their face all the time. He was one of the first guys that did that, which I think is kind of brilliant.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
So where was I going with this? So going back to print quality.
We were talking about my top secret black and white trick.
This podcast is going in the record books for a lot of great information seemingly unconnected to each other.
Yeah, we're getting pretty ADD on the topics here.
Well, print comp is great. We were talking about regulating the industry. I don't think you can do it. My original point with the degrees and all that, I think the intent is great. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it, but I would like to see there be a tougher component to it. So yes, get your degrees in print comp, get your other merits that you get from speaking and all that, but there should be something like maybe a portfolio review, or maybe you have to write some sort of, I don't really know. I'm just thinking it should be harder. It should be a little harder, so people really think about whether they want to do it or not. I think that would weed out some people. Getting a degree should be tough, shouldn't it? I mean, we say it's tough as it is. I think it should be harder, though.
Well, we already talked about that, and I think it seemed harder to us. And are you jealous because everybody this day has more help?
No. You mentioned that. I have no problem with the help. That's fine. But do you agree with the fact or the idea of there being another component to getting a master's degree of photography from PPA? Like one additional component, whether it's some sort of more in-depth portfolio review or something that would go along with what they currently have. Do you agree with that, or do you think it's totally fine the way it is?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have mine, and I use comp for a completely different purpose now, and I kind of, I'm happy for people when they get their masters, but I really don't pay attention to the process. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it should be hard. It should be something that you work really hard for. I'm not going to say it's easy to get it done in 3 years, but a lot more people are doing it this day. So it does seem, I don't think that we've raised the bar on what a merit is to match the bar that's been raised on technology. So I think it is easier to hit a merit, but then, I don't know. I think maybe... Boy, I'm getting into quicksand here, aren't I? Yeah. I love the way that you do that to me. Why don't you tell me your opinion and let people yell at you?
No, it's not controversial. I think it's a great system. And actually, there's a lot of people, I've gotten to so many conversations where people make fun of PPA and they make fun of the degrees, and they have their right to do that. I think it's a great thing. Okay, it adds a little bit of regulation to the industry in a way. Not really regulation, but it's a great thing to strive for. And I did it. The main reason I did it, which is probably why you did it, why most people do it, it's a personal thing. I want to achieve that. This is the system that's in place. PPA is one of the biggest organizations, if not the biggest, for professional portrait wedding photographers. I mean, that's it. So if you're looking for a place where you want to get some sort of validation for your skill level or reach some sort of point, I feel getting a degree from PPA is one of those things. Tell me what else is there out there to do. I mean, am I missing something? That is one of the big things if you're a portrait or wedding photographer. So that's why I believe in it. And it's a personal thing, just to prove to myself that my work is up to snuff and I can get to that point. I just think something like a portfolio review, I keep going to that because we've talked about this already too. A lot of people will just play the game, like play the print comp game. And they're looking to, what do I need to do to get a merit? They're not necessarily interested in actually improving themselves. They just play the game to get the merits, and they have, 12 entries or 25 entries that get that certain amount and they get their degree, but then you look at the body of work and you don't see a lot of that overlapping. And all I'm saying, I think it'd be cool to have some sort of portfolio aspect of it where it's like, yeah, you've done this, that's great, you've excelled in print comp. Now let's take a broader look at more of your work. And I don't know exactly what that would look like, or I don't know how that would be formed, but I think that could be a good thing, though.
I think the print competition entries that earn your merits and loans that get you your degree, those 13 minimum merits that you need from exhibition, that is your portfolio review. And, if you want to hold somebody to a higher standard, let's have a higher degree, or, change the rules a little bit. And I get where you're coming from. Maybe it ought to be 25 straight print exhibit merits, or exhibition merits.
Yeah, maybe.
But too, you're putting a lot on that. I know that that's the only way out there to actually get some credibility written on paper, that you can prove that you know what you're doing. But, put some of the burden on the student. Students aren't stupid. I think if they went to the effort of looking up who that teacher was and checking out their portfolio, checking out their website, looking to see if they actually do clients or if they're just, doing this as a hobby on the side, their creative shtick, look at their resume, do some investigation. See how often they teach versus how often they shoot. The best education I've gotten has been off of people that are so busy shooting that they can barely take the time to teach, so that when they do teach, it's a pretty complex, a multiple day kind of thing, and the dollar value is high, and they only do this maybe once or twice a year. That's kind of how it was when I went to Tim Kelly. I was there for 3 days, and I've paid a nice sum of money to be there. But he only did that workshop once a year. It was a big thing. It was an annual thing, and that was the only time that you were going to have that opportunity. It was exclusive. So, that's the kind of education that I find the most value in, when there's somebody so busy doing excellent client work that, the teaching isn't the bulk of what they do.
Well, and finding someone like that, too, that they are, in fact, experienced, because if they're out there shooting a ton, that means they're doing something right. They have clients, and that speaks for itself as well, right?
Yeah, but then, here we go in quicksand again. Just everybody that's busy doesn't mean that they're good.
That's true. It's tough. It's a tough thing to navigate these days. So I look at a lot of people that are coming in fresh to the industry, and in a way, I can understand their plight. There's so much education out there. Where do you gravitate towards to? Again, that's why places like PPA are great, because you would hope that PPA does a fairly decent job of the people that they do promote for their educational outlets, whether it's imaging or Super One Days and things like that. You would hope that people that are doing those things have been, vetted. Extreme vetting is the word that I'd like to use, which could possibly be offensive to some people. They're vetted, so you're actually getting decent education. It's not just someone who has just jumped into it and has no clue what they're talking about.
Well, I'm going to be critical of the PPA on this, and, it's not like I don't love the PPA, but I will have to say the Super Monday thing, or the Super One Day thing, I do wish that there was some more discernment there, because I do believe that anyone who puts together a class and submits it is approved to teach. Now, this last time that I applied to teach, they did have a new thing in there, and it said that if you got negative reviews the last time you taught, or a certain number of bad reviews, that they asked you to sit out the next cycle of teaching. So, and since they only do this twice a year, that would mean if you taught in May and didn't do well, you had to skip the October, but you could come back next May. So I don't know, we're going to punish you for a little bit, and then you can come back. Now they do pay if you have your craftsman degree, which is the teaching and speaking degree, so it means you have some experience under your belt teaching. if you get more than 8 people to sign up, you do make $50 per person after like the 7th or 8th person. I don't remember precisely which one it is. So the people that actually do have some experience teaching do get rewarded at some level, but we still have people teaching that maybe should not be. But I understand they're trying to get the craftsman degree as well. But I think maybe, you know, they should stick to the 2-hour dinner meetings at local affiliates and, you know, early morning things. Pay their dues like everybody else did. Don't go right into teaching a super one day. And the reason that people do that is because you can make 2 merits teaching a one-day class, and that can help you get your merits really quickly for your craftsmen versus the dinner meetings where they give you 1 merit in dinner and you drive a few hours there and back, and you know, it's a lot harder to get them when you're getting them 1 at a time. So you can get 2 in one day. So I think that's why it's attractive. And now you can also teach more than 1 class at a time. So you can teach 2 each super one day and make 4 merits. And there's your fast and easy way to the craftsman degree. But does it really assure you of a good teacher? And I don't think it does.
You know, I just spoke at a 2-hour dinner affiliate thing. What are you trying to say? I'm just curious.
No,
are you
I was
singling out me purposely and trying to...
Okay, that's really not nice of you because I was at that dinner meeting and I'm the person that introduced you.
You did. I forgot. I completely forgot that.
Thank you for that.
Okay,
Wow.
that was an extended intro. I completely forgot. Give me a break. It was a month ago, but you did introduce me, and it was a very extended introduction. I think a few people left during the introduction because it was so long, but I do remember that now. You make a valid point. You make a valid point about the education. I guess I do have to step back a little bit. I guess in general, I feel PPA does a pretty good job at who they have speak. Yeah, one days are a little bit different, and I get the concept. They want people to have the opportunity to teach because they want them to be able to attain a craftsman degree, and they want to kind of facilitate that with that process. That being said, I don't know, maybe something like a class curriculum. I guess they make you, send a description, but not really a more detailed description. It could literally be like a paragraph about your class. That's all they really want, right?
Well, you have to send in a bio and a class description and that kind of thing, but I don't think that's just you're fulfilling requirements. You're not being vetted. You're not being juried into the process. Of course, you know, I don't work for them. I don't know. I've never heard anybody say that they've been turned down for a teaching slot. We'll just leave it at that.
So much fun. See, we started off with it. This is a scary topic. See, you thought I was going absolutely nowhere with this, but anytime we talk about photography, it's scary. It can be scary. It can be very scary. And as far as anger rooms go, PPA, if you're listening, at imaging, I don't know. You guys can make some extra money, $20 after, well, I guess the prints have already been judged. Maybe at conventions, they should have anger rooms. So after you get your score, you pay $20, you go in a room. They bring like a copy, or maybe they have piñatas of the judges, and you bring a baseball bat, and you get to bat the hell out of this stuff after your prints don't do good. I mean, can that happen? It's maybe extra cash flow. I don't know.
Sometimes I wonder about your ADD on topics, and you have just brought that around to tie in, and how in the world did you do that?
Professional. I'm an absolute professional.
Yeah, I think it's time to wrap this one up.
well. Yes. Well. I think we'll wrap up with that. So, if you go to www.makephotographygreatagainpodcast.com, I promise no one will hurt you. You will not be offended if you go there. It is completely PG-13 or possibly PG. Go there. You can listen to... It's G. Occasionally it may go into the PG realm, but super non-offensive. If you go there, you can find the latest podcast episodes. You can download those. You can listen to them. And if you're on Facebook, if you search for Make Photography Great Again podcast, a lot of cool links there. We'll throw up the It trailer because, of course, I keep wanting to call you Rachel. I don't know why. You yell at me a lot, so then I want to call you Rachel because that's...
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to tell Rachel you said that.
She'll hear this anyways. We'll throw the It trailer because you have not seen it, Christine, so we'll put it up there. It's pretty cool, and it's scary, and photography can be scary, so I think that works. But I think that's it. Hey, if you want to email us or send us some hate mail or love mail, would it be love mail? Would that be the opposite of hate mail? That sounds not appropriate.
No, because the opposite of hate is indifference.
So if you want to send us some indifference mail, where would people do that?
The quick and easiest way to get to us would be to go to the first page, a homepage of our website, look on the sidebar to the right, and there's a contact form right there. So it's really easy to send us a message.
Cool. Well, that's it. You guys take care, and we will catch you next time.
You have been listening to Make Photography Great Again with Christine Walsh-Newton and Ted Linzak. Come back next Tuesday for a brand new episode. For more information and access to the podcast archive, please visit our website, makephotography great again podcast.com.